pass here. Eastrom to Aho. Aho, he'll drop it back. Shot by Rose. He scores! Out of the box comes Svechnikov, and Svechnikov's on a break. Svechnikov in on Bobrovsky. Shoots, scores! Andrei Svechnikov out of the box, into the back of the net. It's 2-0 Carolina. Now Reinhart out front. Oh, Mr. Andersen getting across on Lundell. Second attempt. That will be deflected in. Florida finds a way to get. So he kept in by Ekblad. Aaron Ekblad shot. Andersen makes the save. Rebound, they score. Ryan with it with traffic in front. Andersen makes the save. Second setup, they score. And just like that, it's a 3-2 lead for Florida. Anton Lundell on the setup from Sam Reinhart.
And just like that, Carolina's lead was gone. Just like that, Carolina went from 2-0 up to 3-2 down. 3 minutes and 7 seconds. That's what it took. 7 minutes after the third period started with Carolina holding a 2-0 lead, it was 3-2 Florida and toes up. That was it. Carolina had no response after that. Hi, everyone. It's the Canes Corner podcast. Welcome to your holiday break. Couldn't have come at a better time. Enjoy your family. Enjoy what Santa brings you. And come back refreshed after the break, after Boxing Day. 5-2 Panthers win. All right. I want to spend a little time on the game tonight. Maybe 40 minutes on the game tonight, because that's all Carolina played. And then we'll talk about a few maybe larger picture things for the Hurricanes. The first is, and I know nobody wants to hear it, Carolina played 40 very good minutes. And I think, if we're being honest, what Carolina didn't do was make more of their good moments in this game. And this has been, for my money, when I look at the one thing that has separated Carolina from being better than they have been, and we're talking about regular season here, but it goes for the in the same way in the playoffs. Better than they have been. For me, it's when you have the opportunity to bury an opponent, you have to be able to cash in. And in the second period of this game, with Carolina on top 2-0, Eric Robinson scores on a feed from Sebastian Aho in the first period. Andrei Svechnikov comes out of the penalty box, flying. Stahl gets the puck ahead. Andrei beats Sergei Bobrovsky between the pads, and it's 2-0. Inside of 2 minutes into the period, Hurricanes have a 2-0 lead. And then Bradley Nadeau steals the puck, feeds Logan Stankoven in front. I mean, you got to finish that. That's got to be a goal. Pass across in front to Jordan Stahl. Stahl's got, 10 goals on the season? That had to be 11. We could talk about all day long that Sergei Bobrovsky made a great save. He did, because Jordan hit him with the puck. That has to be a goal. Nick Ehlers sets up Stankoven right out in front. Can't finish. Ehlers sets up Stank again. Bad save. Logan Stankoven should have had 3 goals tonight, or could have had 3 goals tonight. I guess you don't have to finish all of them. But you got to finish one of those. Have to finish one of those. And then Ehlers on a 2-on-1. There's no pass available, so he tries to stop and duck inside, which I get. But outstretched body, stick, puck. Now you get nothing. When things are not going well, shoot the puck. Wayne Gretzky, no such thing as a bad shot on goal. Carolina needs to think about that during the holiday break. But that was the second period. After it's 2-0, Stankoven has 3 Stahl has 1. Ehlers, it's not a scoring chance because you don't shoot the puck. But that was a pretty good scoring chance. And throughout all of that, Carolina gets great defensive play from Jalen Chatfield and Sean Walker. Chatfield comes back and foils a 2-on-1. Incredible speed to get back and break up a play. Walker, in a 4-on-2 situation, gapped up at the blue line and forced an offside. Should have been more than 2-0 going to the third period. But, as I joked, at least he didn't blow a 3-goal lead. He only got it to 2-0. But it should have been at least 3-0. And I say this all the time. We can blame, you know I love my cross-sport analogies. Bullpens blow a lot of games in baseball. But sometimes the other parts of your game can help out the bullpen. You have opportunities to score more runs, do it. So the bullpen doesn't matter as much. So Carolina had opportunities to extend this lead beyond 2 in the second period when you were playing better than Florida. That's where this game was lost. And then the third period began. And obviously, it's an issue. Every team goes through weird stretches of a season. This is, I think, pretty glaring for a good team. And I think we can all be honest here. The Hurricanes are a very good team. So what we are watching now is something that is kind of foreign to us. A team that is falling apart as the first thing goes wrong. That's what happened in Florida, even though we forget. Carolina played pretty well after Brad Marchand scored to make it 3-1. They played great. Where they fell apart was cheating for the empty net goal, which led to 2 6-on-5 goals directly. Aho first, Svechnikov second. Both guys who should have made simple plays didn't, and it ended up in their net. Tonight, there were harder plays that could have been made. Jackson Blake, not a good look tonight. And ultimately, Carolina gave up goal. It was quite glaring in the third period. Started with Nico Mikkola, went to Luke Cunnin, then to Anton Lundell, Sam Bennett, and Seth Jones. And there was only 3 minutes and 7 seconds in between the Mikkola goal and the Lundell goal that put Florida ahead to stay. So, Freddie Andersen got the start tonight. And we're going to talk about Andersen in a little bit more depth in a minute. He hadn't played in 19 games, and Carolina played a great 40 minutes in front of him. He didn't see a ton. He didn't have to make any really good saves. I think his best save he made was probably on Sam Bennett. Good pad save. Actually, the best save he made was the save he made on Anton Lundell, backdoor. Reinhardt passes it across to Lundell. That's a goal. That is flat out a goal. And Andersen goes post to post and makes just a great save. But Carolina can't control the puck. And Mikkola eventually fires a slap shot from, pretty far out. And it's well wide of the net. But it goes off of Alexander Nikishin's skate and just drifts in. And it moved agonizingly slow to get into the net. It's a bad break. That's not Freddie Andersen's problem, that goal. That's Carolina just not being able to collect that rebound. Again, I'm not sure that that's anybody's fault. And it's really just a bad break. Freddie hasn't had any good ones, But that was just a bad break. But it's how they didn't react that I think is the disturbing part. Because at that point, and it's hard to tell from upstairs, and I know people believe that they could tell from home, but you can't. But I will say this. The Hurricanes, at that point, based on Tampa, based on the Florida game Friday, Carolina reacted as though they knew something bad was going to happen. Because they stopped playing after that goal. You're still up 2-1. And that next goal didn't happen right away because the second and third goals happened on consecutive shifts, like 43 seconds apart. But there was about 2 minutes in between the Mikkola goal and the Cunnin goal. By the way, Luke Cunnin, 7 goals in 15 games against Carolina. Luke Cunnin. I'd be surprised. I'd have to go look at it. I'd be surprised if he had more goals against any team in the NHL other than Carolina. Here's the thing. Do I think Freddie should have had that second one? Should? No. Could? Yeah. Could have had it. That would have been a good one to get. Keep that out. Make a big save. Because you made a great save on the first goal. That ultimately you get unlucky, it goes in. Should have had the Lundell goal that made it 3-2. I don't know. The Bennett goal's a good shot. And honestly, I think his team was dead behind the eyes right after the Lundell goal, after they lost the lead for the first time. And boy, that happened in a hurry. So, but here's what you can't deny about Freddie Andersen. He did make a great save on Lundell before Mikkola made it 1-0. But he is 5-8-2. It's going to be, by the time he plays again, it's going to be at least 2 months between wins. And his save percentage is .869. .869. I just don't know if you can run him back out there. He's not going anywhere. It's a very, very difficult situation. And I know you guys, people don't, at this point, people don't care. Whatever. I'm not telling you one way or the other. Andersen, in 4 previous years, has been a very good player for this franchise. In the 22, 23, 24, 25, and now 25, 26 seasons. For 4 years, he's been a very good player. He earned another contract this year because Carolina didn't have any other options either, but also Andersen would have been the best free agent goalie available. If Carolina didn't sign him, somebody else would have. And then they would have been scrambling for somebody else. And here's what we have to hope in the second half of the year. We have to hope that Brandon Bussi continues playing well. We have to hope that we get more good nights than bad nights from Pyotr Kochetkov. And here's what we don't know. We don't know if Brandon Bussi will continue to play well. And we don't know if we'll get more good nights from bad nights than bad nights from Kochetkov. So back 2 months ago, when I suggested that Carolina has goaltending concerns, I'm not saying that the Hurricanes do have goaltending concerns. What I am saying is I'm not sure the jury isn't still out on that. We have not reached a verdict yet. I think we're still deliberating. That's my feeling. You may feel 100% differently than I do. What Brandon Bussi has done for 13 starts, 11-1-1. It's pretty remarkable. Maybe it'll continue. I hope it does. He's a great guy. Love him. And he has played really well. The last half of his 13 starts have been exceptional. We'll see. We'll see how he handles like his first bad game. We'll see how Pyotr Kochetkov bounces back from the third period in Tampa. He was spectacular through 2 periods, and he was no good in the third. So we'll have to find out what's going to happen there. But a lot of people just dump it on Freddie. But I'll tell you who I wanted to see be better tonight. And I thought he was good for 2 periods. I thought Sebastian Aho was really good through 2 periods. But he looked pretty deflated in the third. On the, is it the Cunnin goal? Either the Cunnin goal or the Lundell goal. Aho was just drifting. Yeah, I'm not sure the shooter was his guy. But if you're Aho and you see, maybe he didn't see him, but Aho can't be drifting back to the blue line when there's somebody in front of him with the shot. So it was not a great period. He overskates the puck on the Bennett goal that makes it 4-2. Just not a hard enough play on the puck. I don't know if overskating is the right word. I think he went to play it. Was it Reinhart? Somebody. Don't remember who it was. Maybe it was stick on stick and prevented Aho from getting it. But Sam Bennett had way too much time to release that shot. There was a screen in front, and Andersen was helpless, but need to see more from Sebastian. It has been an indifferent first half of the year for him. The face-off percentage is super low. Got off to a terrible start in that regard. He lost his first 4. He ended up finishing up 5 out of 11. So, I mean, theoretically, he did rally. He won 5 of his last 7. But still. Aho, who the last 2 years has been at 55% basically, is at like 47% on the season this year. It's rare when you see somebody's face-off percentage drop like this. It's rare. Usually as you get older, it gets better. This has been a dreadful season in that regard. And he had back-to-back games with 2 goals. He doesn't get on the score sheet in Tampa. And again, through 40 minutes, I thought he was very good tonight. But that line, Ehlers and Blake, they got abused in the third period. Blake was on the ice for 3 goals against. Aho was on the ice for 2. Actually, no, he was on the ice for 3 against as well, but he was just part of the first goal. So he was only a -2. Aho is, I think, -5 in his last 2 games. So, and they didn't play the last, I'd say, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, but they weren't the only ones. So after the Bennett goal, I think all the air was out of everybody, and I think Rod just shut it down at that point. The Seth Jones power play goal, that was just kind of a fluke in terms of Sam Reinhart's got the puck in the slot, and he goes to shoot it, whiffs on it. Somehow the puck just kind of drifts over to Seth Jones, and Jones has an empty net, and he didn't miss it. Carolina's missed those this year. And that is, again, I go back to the first thing we talked about. You had an opportunity in the second period to at least make it 3, which they could have blown anyway. I'm not even arguing that they would have automatically won the game. You know, they've blown 3 goal leads in the last 2. Carolina's now led combined 8-0 and lost all 3 games. The first one, at least they dragged to overtime. That's the other thing, man. You couldn't even get this one into overtime and get a point after 40 minutes of that kind of work. in terms of this team and the way they're built, Rod did talk about it, and I think a lot of people forget this. People act, and look, I get it. The Hurricanes have done a lot of winning in the regular season. They've done a lot of winning in the playoffs, too. They haven't gone as far as they would like, as far as anybody would like. But they've done a lot of winning in the playoffs. But they don't have stars. They have people that we believe are stars. They're stars here. Sebastian Aho isn't a star elsewhere. There's probably 20 teams in the league where Aho is not the number one center. Maybe 20. 20 might be harsh. There might be 15 teams in the league where Aho is not the number one center. But he's Carolina's number one center. And he's an outstanding player. But he's not one of those guys. Andrei Svechnikov. Somebody asked me on Twitter. And by the way, in case you haven't noticed, if you are following on Twitter, I am not engaging. I am not engaging with dumb. I am not engaging with defeatist. I am not engaging with people who make like ludicrous statements. You're allowed to do that because you're mad. I get it. But I'm just not going to play the game. I'm not going to tell you that you're crazy or that you're just angry because the team lost the lead. But we have to trade Andre. He's overrated. Good. He scores the goal to drive up his trade value. I remember at the beginning of the year. Do you remember the Elliot Friedman 32 Thoughts podcast where he has the item that Svechnikov earlier in the season, his representatives kind of floated the idea that they would be open to a trade because Andre was playing on the fourth line for a handful of games, which he needed to be because he was no good. And Elliot Friedman was like, oh my gosh, if Svechnikov was available, teams would be lining up for him. Because I think a lot of teams would. Yet we have a semblance of the fan base that like, oh, we got to get rid of him. If you put Svechnikov on the trade market, you'd have no trouble getting rid of him. There would be a lot of teams interested. It would be hard for Carolina to get better, though. Especially when you'd be trading somebody that you need. I thought Andre was great for 40 minutes tonight. Great. He was my first star. We have to come up with stars at the end of the game. Svechnikov was my first star. Ehlers was my second star. Stahl was my third star. Carolina, I'll go back to the second period. That has to be more than a 2-goal lead. So before I just make fun of some remarks. Oh, no, let me go back and just finish this thought. You forget, some of you, that the Hurricanes do not have like legitimate star-level scorers. There are no McKinnons. There are no Draisaitl's, no McDavids, no Kaprizovs, no Nylanders, no Panarins. They don't have players like that. They just don't. No Celebrinis, no Bedards, none of these. They don't have these players. What Carolina has are a bunch of really good players all over the lineup when healthy. But they don't have stars. I said this during the playoffs last year when Carolina matched up against Florida. If you had a draft and you were drafting just from the two forward groups, how far would you have to get before Aho was taken off the board, or Jarvis, whoever you thought the first pick was. How many picks would go before Aho or Jarvis was taken? This is the playoffs last year. Barkov, Kachuk, Reinhart. We're talking about bona fide goal scorers. Playoff Sam Bennett would be a great pick. But I think somebody would take Aho before Bennett. Even though Bennett does things the way you do them to be successful in April, May, June. The bottom line is that when I went through the exercise, if you were drafting 12 forwards, I think at best, Carolina would have had 4 of the 12. And that's where the Hurricanes, I mean, they're just a team of very good players. And the reason why they win basically every single year is because the head coach knows what he's doing. And he knows how to get the best out of players. And I would just point this out. They're approaching 100 man games lost due to injury. Jacob Slavin and Seth Jarvis probably won't be back until after the first of the year. Jordan Martinook, gosh, how much different does the Tampa game look like? How much different does the Florida game look like? Because Martinook didn't play that one. How much different does tonight look like if Martinook's in the lineup? I've said this before. Jordan Martinook is as indispensable a player as Carolina's got because of all the things he does for the team. They miss him when he's not in the lineup. Hey, everybody's got injuries. Nobody's feeling sorry for you. It was still 3 games that Carolina should have won. You lead 3-0, you should win. You lead 3-0, you should win. You lead 2-0, entering the third period, you should win. But the Hurricanes are first in the East in spite of the fact that they've had 100 man games lost due to injury. Half of their games have been started by a goaltender who right now is the worst starting goaltender in the NHL, Frederik Andersen. I mean, that's just a fact. That's not a character assassination. Statistically speaking, there is no starter because he has started 15 games this year. Almost half of Carolina's games. There's nobody who has started 40% of his team's games who has worse numbers than Frederik Andersen. The power play hasn't been good. The penalty kill until recently hasn't been good. And you're not getting really high productive seasons from Aho, Svechnikov, blah, blah, blah. And yet, somehow, they're in first place. So if the head coach doesn't know are they just lucky? So comments in the on my timeline, and look, I haven't gone through the comments here on the chat, but another playoff flameout. What do you mean another? Have there been playoff flameouts? How many years has Carolina underachieved in the playoffs? Be honest with yourself. Look, I get being mad. So maybe 21-22 when they lose to the Rangers in the second round. You lose at home in Game 7. Maybe that's the year that Carolina underachieved in the playoffs. Year 1, they get to the conference finals. Yep. Terrible year. Year 2, bubble hockey. Beat the Rangers in 3, then lost the Bruins in 5. But even that year, if you go back and you look at it, Carolina was kind of flirting with a playoff spot for a good chunk of the season. When they shut the year down, Carolina was, I believe, in 6th. Took a while. But Carolina looked like they were coming around. They had a lot of injuries, especially on the back end. And then, crazy pandemic central. I mean, they had the 3rd best record in the league, but ultimately, that was going to be Tampa's year. Didn't matter what the regular season was. Tampa was the best team. We all knew it. And Carolina lost to them in 5 in the second round of the playoffs. The following year would be, I agree, that would be the year that if Carolina underachieved the playoff, it was that year. Rangers power play got him in Game 7. The next year, Carolina gets to the conference finals, plays one of the great Eastern Conference finals you'll see by a team that got swept. Could have easily won each of the first 2 games on home ice in overtime. Didn't. 4 overtimes the first night, 1 overtime the next night. 4 one-goal games. Could have gone either way. None of them went Carolina's way. I get it. Again, the notion that this is another playoff flameout is so reactionary to 3 bad losses. Rod's job should be in jeopardy. Okay, moving on. Stahl isn't a good captain for this team. Perennial early out. So, tough loss tonight. Very tough loss tonight. And over the holiday, and we'll close up here. Over the holiday, Carolina's best players. Aho, Svechnikov. Again, I thought Svech was great tonight. For 40 minutes. Nobody was good in the 3rd period. Ehlers was great for 40 minutes. Stankoven, you got to finish some of those, bruh. We need Jackson Blake to be a little bit better with the puck. The problem is he's very much a finesse player, and he's great with his stick. But he had a couple of opportunities where the puck could have left the zone, and it's not quite a hard enough play. He'll learn. It's only his 2nd year. He'll learn. He'll get better. Stankoven, some of those have to be goals, man. See that a lot with Logan. He scores some big goals. No doubt about it. He will score big goals, and everybody loves Logan Stankoven. But boy, a night like tonight, one of those has to get buried. Has to get buried. But it's going to come down to, in the second half, A, getting Jarvis back. B, having Aho and Svechnikov have not good monster second halves. Because the Hurricanes aren't winning, they're not going to get to the Stanley Cup Finals without Aho and Svechnikov having monster second halves. And I'll say this one more time. I keep saying it. Carolina needs another center. They just have to get one. I don't know what it's going to take to get one, but they have to get one. It's not that I don't think Logan Stankoven can be a center in the league. I think he can. But Carolina needs to get better at that spot. I personally think Logan Stankoven is a 3rd-line player in the league. He's a very good player, but I think he needs to be playing on a 3rd line. The truth of the matter is that Blake, Ehlers, and Stankoven, when they play together, in general, get 3rd line time. In general. because of the way the Stahl, Martin, Carrier line is used. So they're getting favorable matchups. But with all of that said, and also the same thing goes for Jackson Blake, as good as he is. There needs to be more finish from Blake. I think we see more flashes of what is going to happen in the future than we see with Stankoven. But both guys need to finish better. Ehlers has been great over the last several weeks. We just need to keep seeing that. But tough loss makes everything feel worse because of the way you lost 3 in a row. But you play like you did against Florida for the first 40 minutes. You do that for 60 minutes. Carolina was physical. They were on top of the Panthers. Didn't allow them any room. And then in the third period, after the fluke goal, all the room in the world. That is something they're going to have to deal with. We are brought to you by the Aluminum Company of North Carolina. If it is for the exterior of your home, you can find it at the Aluminum Company of North Carolina on Hamlin Road in Durham. No place like it. Sammy Hatt and his crew do a great job. You should check them out for all of your exterior home improvement needs. The Aluminum Company of North Carolina. Merry Christmas. I would say Happy New Year, but we're going to see you in just a few days after the Hurricanes and the Detroit Red Wings on Saturday night here at Lenovo Center. 2 nights later, it'll be the Rangers. Then Carolina's in Pittsburgh, and then back here against Montreal for New Year's Day. So 4 games in Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, in 6 days. Yep. Back to the grind. Enjoy the 3-day break, people. And everybody gets refreshed, open some presents, have some eggnog. Gosh, I wouldn't drink eggnog with your mouth. All right, we'll see everybody in a few days. I'm Adam Gold. This has been the Canes Corner Podcast after a very difficult night at Lenovo Center. Merry, happy, see you.